On Reality Check tonight, we take a hard look at the Congress's promise of quotas to Gujarat's Patel community. Does it measure up? Now, that promise was at the heart of the formal alliance between the Congress and Hardik Patel's PAAS organization. The only problem? The 1992 Supreme Court order, which has set a ceiling of 50% for all types of reservation. Now, reservations in Gujarat already stand just below the 50% mark. 7% for scheduled castes, 15% for scheduled tribes, and 27% for OBCs brings it to 49.5%. Patels count for anywhere between 12 to 14% of Gujarat's population, so reservation corresponding broadly to that would easily breach the 50% ceiling. Remember, the BJP government in Gujarat already had a shot at appeasing the Patels with some legislative jugglery. They declared 10% reservation for economically backward classes, but in the general category through an ordinance in May last year. But that was struck down by the courts. This month, an attempt by the Rajasthan government to give 5% reservation to the Gujjar community was stayed by the High Court and the Supreme Court, again on grounds that it would breach the 50% ceiling. This is a pattern, it's happening again and again. So what is the Congress's formula to bypass legal hurdles? The Congress itself has been somewhat vague.
हमने एक प्रयास किया है कि संवैधानिक तरीके से इसको आगे बढ़ाया जाए। मैंने कहा ना कि हम असंवैधानिक तौर पे कुछ नहीं करते। प्रयास तो यही होगा ना कि सब कुछ संवैधानिक हो। ये जो असंवैधानिक बातें हैं ना, ये जो कोटा है ना, ये बीजेपी का है, हमारा नहीं है।
Okay, so Kapil Sibal there claiming they will try to stick to the constitution but not elaborating beyond that. Hardik Patel, however, claims that the Congress has promised a legal solution to the impasse by invoking a section of the constitution which is insulated from judicial scrutiny.
आर्टिकल 31C के आधार पर संवैधानिक आर्टिकल 46 के प्रावधानों के आधार पर वो बिल विधानसभा में रजू करेगा, पारित करेंगे। इस बिल में आर्टिकल 46 का उल्लेख किया जाएगा। जो भी ओबीसी समुदाय को आरक्षण का लाभ मिल रहा है, वो लाभ इन बिन आरक्षित जातियों को दिया जाएगा।
Alright, there are doubts though over whether Article 31C is indeed immune from judicial oversight. We'll get into that in just a second. But it's the reason why the BJP is calling the Congress Hardik Pact mutual deception.
50% की सीमा बनाना अनिवार्य है, 50 के बियॉन्ड नहीं बन सकती। और अगर कोई कहे कि मैं तरीका ढूंढूंगा 50 के बियॉन्ड जाने का, तो वो एक दूसरे को भी धोखा दे रहे हैं और जो आपके कंस्टिट्यूएंट्स है, पब्लिक है, मतदाता है, उसको भी धोखा दे रहे हैं।
Okay, joining the debate tonight, we have with us Abhishek Manu Singhvi, Rajya Sabha MP, spokesperson Congress, and senior Supreme Court advocate. Representing, as it were, the BJP, Zafar Sareshwala, Chancellor of the Maulana Azad National Urdu University. And also joining us is Alok Prasanna, Senior Resident Fellow of Vidhi Legal Research from Bangalore. And here in the studio with us is Dr. Rajendra Mehta, a political scientist from Delhi University. But Abhishek Singhvi, if I can ask you first, what is the secret formula that the Congress has come up with to try and bypass this 50% Supreme Court cap? Because as we just heard Kapil Sibal there, at the moment at least, you're being very vague about it.
It is a wrong notion to think that in law, and believe me, we've studied the law, that there is a prohibition in the constitution to exceed 50%. There is from Balaji 1950s onwards a general rule that as far as possible 50% must be adhered to. But so the first takeaway is far as possible, but not an absolute prohibition.
No, but then how would you explain?
Allow me, please.
Yes, okay, okay.
Second, I'm telling you, just allow me. Two, since there's not an absolute prohibition, which is what a lot of people selectively, when it suits them, paint it, including Mr. Jetli just now, it means you can exceed 50%, provided you do it on certain preconditions. Precondition 1 is either 31B, or it could be 31C, or it could be 9th schedule, or a combination of all, which is possibly one of the things we might do. Precondition 2, even under that, the courts do not in a blanket way say it's per se bad. The courts will likely uphold it in case a research exercise prior to such notification by an appropriate commission shows that the level of backwardness in that state deserves or calls for it. And that's the takeaway number 3 now.
But this sounds...
Which is that this is exactly what happened in Haryana. Well, half a minute more. In Haryana, perhaps you don't know this, the 2016 Khattar reservation going to 67% was challenged.
Right.
The High Court upheld it,
right,
but kept it in abeyance till January 2018 on the ground that the commission, which will measure backwardness in the state, is doing its work.
Right.
So if the commission in Haryana comes up with statistics showing that the level of backwardness justifies it, then the Haryana High Court has upheld it.
Okay,
This is really substance.
Okay, now let me bring in
others. It's not politics.
Now
and it's not just making allegations.
Okay, now let me bring in others. Let me start first with Alok Prasanna from Vidhi Legal Research and ask you, Alok, as much as possible in simple terms, so we don't become too technical and too jargon heavy, because this is a general news show, that to the point that Abhishek Singhvi is making, that the courts have not actually ruled it out, and there is a way through this Article 31C route that you can try and bring reservations. Is this possible, or is this rhetoric?
It is possible, because Tamil Nadu has already done so. The law is still under consideration and it is not a final judgment, but at the moment Tamil Nadu, for instance, does have reservations beyond 50%.
Yes.
A second point, the 50% limit is a creation of the court. I think it is constitutionally unsound. If reservations are a feature of equality, it can't be that 50% is the limit and you can't have equality beyond that. I think there is also a need, and this is a great opportunity for the court to re-examine this 50% limit that it has artificially imposed on reservations in India.
But I was reading this.
So to that extent, yes.
I'm not a legal expert. There are heavyweights like Abhishek Singhvi and Aman Lekhi, I believe senior advocate Supreme Court, is also on the panel. But I was given to understand that a 9-judge bench of the Supreme Court in 2007 held that an insertion of a law in the 9th schedule will not save it from being struck down if on judicial scrutiny the law is found to be violating fundamental rights. This is the IR Kolo case of January 11, 2007.
That's right. Yeah. Just to clarify, not just fundamental rights, the basic structure. It has to show that the insertion violates the basic structure.
Actually,
and it violates, see, it just can't be that there is just the inclusion of the law itself violates fundamental rights. It has to be shown that this inclusion of the law in the 9th schedule violates the basic structure. That is the test. Be that as it may, I still think, and I don't think anybody can reasonably argue that the 50% limit on reservations is basic structure under the Constitution. It's not. It's a judicial creation. So but I think a lot of this is up for discussion and debate.
Okay, but Abhishek, broadly though, what you're saying is that you can't reveal the formula. You're hoping that it will pass the legal test, but isn't that a very tenuous basis on which to make a promise and forge an alliance?
No, Srinivasan. First of all, I have already largely told you the legal route which you can take, because the legal routes one can take are more or less finite. So without giving the exact content, I have actually told you very frankly. Number 2, I have received correctly even greater support from the other gentleman who has just spoken, and he is certainly not in politics. Third, you have rightly mentioned Coelho, and you have actually answered your own question. The whole problem is people start thinking of 50% as a rule cast in stone. You yourself said it is subject to judicial review, and I am conceding it. But there are 2 cases, one falls this side of the line, the other falls that side of the line. If you are able to show that there is a application of mind by a suitably constituted commission which measures backwardness in the state to far exceed 50%, and B, it therefore is not a violation of basic structure, then there is no absolute prohibition. The problem in this debate is most people are given to understand that there is an absolute prohibition. Even by Mysore and Balaji, there is no absolute prohibition. And lastly, my friend here in fact went further. I am agreeing with him that even if there is an absolute prohibition which Balaji and Indira Sahni intended, that can be reconsidered by 9, 11 or 13 judges. But even within that, even within the rules of Balaji, you can have reservation provided you are able to show application of mind measuring backwardness which exceeds and therefore necessitates such reservation.
Okay, does that sound like too many ifs and buts? Let me take that to Zafar Sareshwala. Zafar Sareshwala, are you? I know you're not a legal, specialist, but then nor am I. But broadly, do you think that the Congress has appeared to find a way around something which the BJP so far has politically not been able to do, or is it, as Arun Jaitley suggested, this is just a sham alliance?
Srinivasan, just give me little more time. I am not here as a BJP spokesperson.
Okay.
I don't belong to BJP. Okay. Now, this is worst form of hypocrisy and sham emanated by Congress party. Now, see the shamelessness. They are working overnight, burning midnight oil for the community which is disproportionately higher in every single economic indicator. The Patel Patidar community, take politics, out of 182 MLA, 45 are Patidar, which is almost 27-28%.
Right.
They have 6 cabinet ministers, deputy chief minister, 23-25% medium small enterprises.
Yes.
This is the only community which is per capita has highest land holding.
But
now
you
for
also
such
brought,
a rich community,
but BJP,
they can, now listen to me, let me complete.
BJP government also brought an ordinance. BJP government also brought an ordinance through the back door to try and give them 10% reservation.
No, listen to me.
So why only Congress?
For that community, they can even breach 50% because they are Patel. But Muslim community, which they know, it is worse than scheduled caste and scheduled tribe.
Okay.
They fool them around during the time of election, and when it comes, they show that 50%. So that 50% is only for the Muslim community, but for the Patidar community, they can bring the legal expert, everybody, and they can breach even 50%.
Okay,
so this is hypocrisy, sham emanated by Congress party
I'll get a chance
on a community which they are thriving on.
All right, I'll come back to, I know Abhishek wants to respond, I'll let him do that in just a second, but if I can just bring in Aman Lekhi, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court. Just 1 second, Abhishek. Aman Lekhi, what do you make of the explanation by the Congress that they have managed to find, or they will be able to find a way of overcoming that legal and legislative obstacle to the 50%? Are you convinced?
No, I think it's a case of smokes and mirrors. They are playing Jedi mind games here. No one is interested in reservation, nor are they in any way sincere or serious about making it effective. The point is, it's a political gambit to give a suggestion, not so that it is actually implemented, but for the period it is pending, it keeps everyone occupied that there will be reservation. I am in utter and complete disagreement with Mr. Singhvi insofar as legality is concerned. Article 31C cannot be invoked in this particular case because it will be stretching 39BC to invoke Article 31C over here. 31B will not be in any case available to them. It's subject to judicial review. And in this particular case, the very reason Mr. Singhvi has given, Patidars are not entitled to reservation because it is in extraordinary circumstances alone that it can or may happen. But even there, the Supreme Court is absolutely explicit that those circumstances are clearly absent in the case at hand. Insofar as this particular reservation is concerned, there has to be a condition precedent. The condition precedent is examination, empirical data, and something precise and definitive on which basis you can identify backwardness. This particular condition precedent is absent in this particular case, and the absence of this condition precedent mainly because the political alliance is contemplated, or it is in some way beneficial to the Congress to suggest that such an alliance is possible. You are playing electoral politics. It's a measure which is actually ameliorative. So it's a question of social backwardness takes a back foot in this particular case, and political expediency comes to the forefront. In fact, insofar as this issue is concerned, this is actually placing the issue of reservation on its head.
Right.
And insofar as the practice is concerned, I think it is completely detrimental to and utterly nefarious insofar as this entire exercise is concerned.
Let me bring in, let's get Abhishek a chance to respond to that, because Abhishek, you were saying that all this is contingent on a commission or a committee finding evidence of backwardness, but as Zafar Sareshwala pointed out, it's very hard to make the case that the Patels are a backward community. So then how will it stand?
I think we are changing the rules of the game as we go along.
Okay.
Let me make my few points because I have to go after that. Firstly, I am delighted and very amused to hear these lovely phrases from a person who doesn't claim to be a spokesperson of the BJP. He calls Congress shameless. he calls it absolute hypocrisy, and he calls it lots of other nice abusive names. But he is a very
You are
independent,
shameless.
non-BJP
No,
spokesperson.
you are
Contradiction number
bringing
one.
sham
Let me
to the
complete.
Muslim community.
Let me complete now. I did not
votes.
interrupt you, sir.
No,
allow me the courtesy. Allow me the courtesy of speaking. You may reply.
Zafar Bhai.
You should be ashamed
Reply
of
is
it.
not
No, I'll
interruption.
not allow this.
Zafar Bhai, let him
No, I'll
respond.
have to reply to him.
Reply is not
let him
interruption.
respond. Let him respond.
You are talking. You
Reply
are
is not
shameless.
by interruption.
Your
Zafar Bhai, let
behavior
him
is
respond.
shameless.
Zafar Bhai, I request you. Yes, go ahead, Abhishek.
No, I'll reply him.
Let him
if
respond. Let him
abuses
respond.
could win arguments, if abuses could win arguments, he has certainly won the argument. I think it shows him very poor light that he comes on television to hurl abuses. It means he has no content. Number two, he sees, as the BJP does, everybody as Hindus and Muslims. Perhaps he has not read the constitution. Which does not allow reservation on religious grounds for Muslims. It was tried in Andhra Pradesh and struck down by the court. So that again shows the ignorance with which he is speaking. Thirdly, let me finish my point. Don't interrupt me, please. But I can answer only one by one. So I love the hypocrisy of calling us hypocritical by using selective hypocrisy, with both the speakers before me did not mention Mr. Khattar's reservation exceeding 67% and Rajasthan reservation, one in 2016 and one in 2017. That's a lovely, beautiful hypocrisy. Nobody thinks of that. And last but not the least, I think they answered the question themselves. My whole argument was based on a commission and a committee which will measure it. Now, we were discussing the legality. We are not discussing what will be the result of that commission.
Okay.
We are not. You are giving a verdict now that we know in advance that the commission will find no backwardness. That's not the argument today. The debate today is that a promise is being made which is not contemplated in the constitution.
Okay, let me ask you.
My friends are themselves admitting.
Okay, let me ask you in simple terms.
By contemplation of the constitution, what they are saying is that factually they can predict like astrologers in advance that no committee and commission will find it.
Okay, Abhishek, let me ask you.
I rest my case on the arguments of the two preceding speakers.
Okay, let me ask you.
Now, please, you promised.
I am letting you go. I had just one more question to ask you, which is in simple terms, in Aam Aadmi terms, if you could explain to our viewers, when you say you will use the device of Article 31C or similar devices to bypass the 50% cap, then where is the reservation going to come from? Are you saying that therefore, possibly, reservation for Patels, whatever it is, 12, 14%, whatever it is, will come from the general category? How is it going to actually work? In simple terms.
I did not say what we will do. I started the debate by saying I am not at liberty to disclose.
No, I'm saying
I said
suppose.
that there is no absolute prohibition. I said one of the ways is to use 31B or C or 9th schedule.
Okay.
I said that it will be subject to judicial review.
Right.
And the judicial review will necessarily, obviously it has to go into the 50% general category, Srinivasan. Elementary arithmetic tells us that. It is obviously, this debate is because you are going to exceed 50%. Now the question is, are you able to sufficient, and I did not say Patidar reservation. I said OBC reservations or other categories of reservations which are of broader kind.
Okay, okay.
Which cannot have religious based reservation.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Now, if I can quickly get in Dr. Rajendra Mehta, to the point Rajendra Mehta that's been made, that if it does come down to the question of a committee which will then look at the entire issue of Patel backwardness, will they be able to substantially find it? Because you know, those numbers, just to put those numbers that Zafar Sareshwala was saying in perspective, that if you are close to 44 of 162 MLAs, then you're already 27% of the present assembly, though your own population is between 12 to 14%. You're 9 cabinet ministers out of 25, so you're 36% of the cabinet, again versus just being 12 to 14% of the population. We already have lists of well-known, very successful Patel businessmen and entrepreneurs like Karsan Bhai Patel of Nirma, Pankaj Patel of the Zydus Group, Mahendra Patel of Lincoln Pharmaceuticals, and so on and so forth. So where is the backwardness coming?
See, I will agree on that point made by Zafar Bhai, that Congress has no blueprint for the other communities like Muslims, which is a religious community all the way. Secondly, Patel community is living across the state of Gujarat and Saurashtra, which the area which I belong to is a predominantly Patel communities hard control area.
Right.
the BJP has no blueprint for that area from last 22 years, as well as Congress don't have the blueprint. See, apart from why this reservation issue is coming up at the time of assembly elections, because none of the two major parties, Congress and BJP, has any kind of manifesto, blueprint or design for the underprivileged areas and the ground issues like privatization of education, agriculture and unemployment. These are three major issues on which these parties were supposed to fight the elections.
And you are saying that that's not been the case.
That's not being the case.
All right, Zafar Sareshwala, can I take that to you that while, as Abhishek Singhvi was saying, you accuse or abuse the Congress of all kinds of lapses, but it is selective, though you say you're not a member of the BJP. The fact is that haven't all parties let down these communities, whether it's the Patels, whether it's the Muslims, it's not specific to any one party.
Yeah, absolutely. See, I am saying all political parties during the time of election, they give this carrot, be to Rajputs or to the Marathas or to the Gujjars, and then what they come and say, oh, we are for you, but look, Supreme Court doesn't allow. So this sham is being permeated by all the political parties and particularly more with the Muslims. You remember 2012 election of UP where the Congress party was saying we'll give you 9% election, and then at the time they say, oh, we can't breach 50%. So this is the biggest sham all political parties have been permeating on the communities. Rather than doing positive affirmation, they resort to such things. They should create positive affirmation, create equal opportunities. That is the road ahead which needs to be done.
Right. But can I just ask you, Aman Lekhi, that did you, I mean, you obviously heard Abhishek Singhvi, but were you convinced by his point that, look, the whole point of the committee and the actual legitimacy of the claim of backwardness is the second step, but the formula, the sort of contours of what they're proposing just at the legal level will at least get them past the first hurdle? Or are the two, or is it not possible to delink the two?
No, I think Mr. Singhvi has shot himself in the foot. That means they've got nothing concrete with them and everything is in the realm of the abstract. Now, in the realm of the abstract, as imagination rules, anything can be promised. You can actually say that you can jump to the moon, but that's not something which is actually feasible. And that is precisely the point I'm making. Even the Congress knows that what it's suggesting is not actually feasible, and that's the reason why it's hedging it in conditions and caveats. Now, if there are conditions and caveats, that means there's absolutely no blueprint, and they will unfold and unfurl it along the way. So if they themselves don't have any method to actually implement what they're actually promising, that means the promise is actually it is a backwards promise which is incapable of implementation, and that is the issue that I'm bringing over here. This is a clear case of clientelism and vote bank politics. Now, it's a question of you need a captive community to help you win elections. Now, if you want a community to win elections and for that to dangle a sop for the purpose of misleading them into thinking that something will be available, when you yourself are unsure about the effectiveness of the measure which you are proposing, this is nothing but trickery. And trickery does not in any way behove any responsible politician, and this is nothing but fraud on the constitution and the law.
Quickly, Alok Prasanna, you've heard from Aman Lekhi there, and of course you heard Abhishek Singhvi, but you still feel it's possible?
The difficulty with the Patels, in the context, specifically in the context of Patels, is that there is enough research to show that they are actually far closer to the upper castes in terms of development, in terms of social mobility and so on, rather than backward castes. There was an article published a couple of years ago, a couple of months ago in the Economic and Political Weekly, which looked at all the human development indicators for the various castes in Gujarat, and it was quite clear that Patels were far closer to forward castes such as Brahmins rather than they were to even other backward castes, let alone scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. The issue is that under Article 16, when you're granting reservations, you have to give it to socially and educationally backward classes. And you have to show that as a matter of fact. There is very little to show that Patels are actually socially and educationally backward. At the end of the day, the reservations are not for grabbing some amount of state resources and power. They are to rectify structural inequalities. Nothing that I have seen or read suggests that Patels suffer from the kind of structural inequalities which would entitle them to reservations under the Constitution.
Well, there we have it. So we'll have to see how exactly then the Congress will be able to get around it, or is it just a poll time gambit which will be forgotten once the election results are out. We're out of time, gentlemen. But thanks so much for joining us. That's it on Reality Check. Thanks for watching. Good night.